Hello everyone, it's Michelle here. I hope you're doing well. Sorry to disappoint those who like the walking videos where I'm walking through the woods or the fields with the dogs. This video is quite technical, so I can't do it while I'm walking. I've got to show you lots of different screens and lots of different clips. So sorry about that, but hopefully you find this interesting, informative, and it puts to bed, finally, the possibility of summer screaming that was heard by the neighbour. So if you haven't heard this story, let's start from the beginning, and I'm going to go through why I believe that whatever the neighbour heard wasn't summer. It wasn't summer screaming, wasn't a muffled scream. I'm going to show you why I believe that wasn't the case. I'm not discounting that the neighbour heard something, but I'm going to argue that it couldn't have been summer. A few days ago, I made this video, Summer's alleged final moments at home, let's investigate Don's new claim. Because after 2 months of Summer being missing, it was the first time Don had mentioned a neighbour heard a scream. That said, Crazy Crime Chick, and I'm going to come on to her live stream in a few moments. When Don made that claim, Crazy Crime Chick released a short video, a piece of audio of Candice talking about a neighbour hearing a scream back on the 20th of June. In her live stream, Crazy Crime Chick, this was last night, Crazy Crime Chick said that she didn't release that audio at the time because she didn't have permission to do so. She got it via a source who knew Candice, and she didn't have permission to release it. Also, she didn't feel it was appropriate to release it because no one else mentioned it. In the press interview, they didn't mention it. Candice didn't mention it when she saw Chris McDonough and had, the swimming hole and the house talks. She didn't mention it. So Crazy Crime Chick just sat on it. But when Don said it a few days ago on Voices Behind the Walls channel, she felt it then, well, she better release it. So she did. So that's where that kind of discrepancy came from. But I'll come back to this live stream in a few moments, as I said. I just want to set the scene first. So this is the Wells property. This is the camper, Grandma's camper. This is the generator that is the kind of the beginning of the dog trail. And the dog trail goes down here. Right, so this is all the Wells property. And if we look at a map, we see Wells property, Beach Creek Road, Ben Hill Road, which snakes all the way down into the mountain. And then it kind of comes to a dead end. But you've then got this road, Simpson Road, which snakes around kind of the edge of the Wells property, and you can get out back onto Beach Creek Road. So in my video that I made the other day, this video, I speculated as to, well, if a neighbour heard Summer scream and Don alleged that Summer's trail ended at the dog trail, at the bottom of the dog trail, then it had to be a neighbour very close by. So it had to be this neighbour. But let's listen to what Don said. Because on Crazy Crime Chick's live stream, she put a number of different clips together. What has been said and what does it mean? Right, so basically I'm condensing it all and adding in what I know and my own thoughts to this. So let's listen to what Don said about the dog trail.
The scent trail. David Radar said her scent went down the driveway to the road. Don says it went through the dog trail to the road.
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I watched with my own eyes, the officer and the dog go straight down that dog trail. But whether another dog, I mean, they've had several dogs up here, not just that one. They even had the prison guard dogs out here. So they had 3, 4. I mean, I imagine they had 5 sets of dogs here or more. I don't know. So, but from what I've found out, I mean, I just don't know, to be honest with you. I just watched the one dog go down the dog trail, and according to what he said, you know, it dead ended down there. But the other dogs may have picked something else up, and they're not 100% accurate on everything either. But
No, they're
they
not.
never could pick their scent up anywhere. Yeah, they never could pick their scent up anywhere outside Ben Hill Road down there anywhere. Like, so it's like she definitely got in the car, thrown in a car or whatever, you know.
That's
My
what I
neighbors
heard.
heard some
Yeah,
screams.
radar say too.
She was up there outside, you know, just across from us, and she heard some really weird screams before they heard us screaming for Summer, and that still haunts her. She's still haunted by all that, and I think she might have been fighting somebody.
So that's the first time that Donald mentioned the scream. The neighbour's haunted by it, and it sounded like she was fighting somebody. If Donald says that the dogs, the scent dogs, located Summer's scent on the dog trail, and Donald has filmed the dog trail, so it starts here at the generator and it goes through the trees, and it looks like it ends around here, because on Donald's video you could see him looking down the Ben Hill Road to their driveway, and this is the Wells driveway here. The mailbox is about here, and the Wells property starts here, and the driveway goes up like this. So Donald said that the neighbour was just across from them, and she heard a scream. All right, so let's look at the other property. So if she was just across from them, is it this neighbour? I speculated it was this neighbour. There are other neighbours. So there's a neighbour right down here. This is a neighbour. And please do not go harassing these people. There's like about 9 properties, I think, on Ben Hill Road. Do not go harassing them. It's been claimed that people have been, you know, taking photographs of the kids and God knows what. So don't do that. This is for informational purposes only. So there's a neighbour right down here, but that's quite a way. It doesn't look very far, but I think it probably is quite a way from. This would be where the dog trail is. This would be where their drive is. So all the way down here, you've got a neighbour, and all the way tucked into the trees here, you've got a neighbour. Now the road begins here up to this neighbour's property, and you see this driveway beginning on the footage that Chris McDonough took of Ben Hill Road. Could it have been that the neighbour was on their property somewhere around here? Possibly. Also allegedly, apparently this neighbour was the one that had the argument with Jackie Dobbs. And Jackie Dobbs is the guy who bought a plot of land, a couple of acres, on Ben Hill Road. And I found the auction for that land. Right, this was the auction that took place. I think it was April 2021. So 2.2 acres, Ben Hill Road, and this is the plot. This is the 2 acres here, and this is presumably the property line of the Wells property. But Jackie Dobbs, because there's no structures, there's no houses on this land, on the 14th of June, so a day before Summer disappeared, Jackie Dobbs, who lives out of state, was camping on this land. I don't know, coming to view it, survey it, I don't know. But he had an argument with a neighbour because he inadvertently camped in the wrong spot, and he'd gone over the boundary line into the neighbour's property. And she'd had an argument with him, and then he'd up sticks and he'd gone to a hotel. And this was on the 15th, right? This is why Jackie Dobbs, lives out of state, was there, and apparently he doesn't have an alibi, and Yeah, so that's the whole thing. So what does that look like on the map? So this is the boundary line here. He got into trouble because inadvertently he went over a boundary line. So I don't know exactly where he was camping. So which neighbour is it? Well, again, could be this one, or it could be one of these. It could be this one. It also could be this one. What did Donald say next that might give us a clue as to which neighbour it was? And the reason why this is important is because the location of the neighbour's property and the way that sound carries is important. Oh yeah, and before I find that, let's look at Chris McDonough's drive. This was on the interview room. You actually see the entrance to a driveway when Chris McDonough he goes past and he has to turn back round. So this is Ben Hill Road. And someone has told Crazy Crime Chick here it was the same neighbour that told law enforcement about JD being there. Okay, so you're going to see the Wells property coming up. You're going to see the driveway. So this is the driveway to the Wells property. See the mailbox, and he's just past the dog trail. The dog trail's just up here. But what he does is he goes past and he has to turn round further up Ben Hill. So let's do this. So he has a look up the drive. That's the driveway. And then he goes up Ben Hill Road. He's checking out the lay of the land, I guess, because he's a detective, so an ex-detective. So it's quite a way before you get to any other driveways. So someone says here to Crazy Crime Chick, close enough for the neighbour to have heard if she was screaming on the road down by the dog trail. Okay. Hold that thought. The sound would never carry, Anna says. I'm going to argue that is the case. Okay, so Chris is off again. Right, watch. So that's that Simpson Road, and then this is Ben Hill. And there's a driveway there, because you can see the mailbox. But it's quite a way from the driveway of the Wells. So there's the driveway going up to that house on the mountain. And then he drives back up. It's quite a way. Because remember, he's in a car. And then there, he's back at the Wells property. Okay. But I'll leave a link to Crazy Crime Chick's live stream and to this video from Chris McDonough, because, you know, then you'll be able to slow it down and stuff. So what does that look like on the map? Well, this is, let me make it a bit bigger. This is the Wells driveway. Chris McDonough went all the way down Ben Hill Road. You saw the junction between Ben Hill and Simpson Road. And then just beyond that, you see this driveway. So that goes up to the house on the mountain. And this area here is where Jackie Dobbs was camping. If the neighbour heard something, they had to be outside, I think. If you scream from one mountain top to another, sound waves travel in a straight line. And if there's nothing stopping it, like no trees, you're shouting from one mountain to another, then that is going to carry. But if Summer was down on Ben Hill Road and the neighbour was outside their property up on the mountain, it's much further away than Candice, Grandma, and the three boys who were right here. So that then leads me to think, well, if the neighbour did hear Summer scream, she had to be really close. to hear it. She had to be down in the valley to hear it. Was she going for a walk and walking along Ben Hill Road? Well, if that's the case, why didn't she see a vehicle? If she was that close, she would have heard a vehicle leaving. If she could hear a muffled scream, she would have heard a vehicle, like, you know, getting away, either getting away up here or going down here. It doesn't make sense. When you break it all down like that, it doesn't make sense. But there's another clip I want to play from Donald. Let's find it.
Earlier you mentioned that someone heard screams. Would you know where
Yes.
the screams were heard in relation to the house from the neighbor? Like what direction?
Well, we live on a hill, so you go down our driveway to Ben Hill Road. Going down on the bottom down there, her driveway's right across from our driveway, and it goes straight up the hill. I mean, if you can see the tree outline.
Except it isn't. Except it isn't, Donald. It's not right across from your property. This is the driveway. You saw it on Chris McDonough. He drove all the way down, and there was no driveways here. There was no roadways at all. You have to go all the way down to the junction of Simpson Road, Ben Hill, and then this is a driveway. It's not right across. That's quite a few minutes walk. It's a few minutes walk down there. Right? It's not right across, Donald.
From the moon, if you look straight down to the tree outline, her house is just below that tree line. I don't know if you can see it.
No, it's too dark.
Just below the moon is that tree line. Well, her house is up below them trees right there.
So a house is below the trees right there. So he's standing here. Right, so is he talking about this? Or is he talking about this neighbour? Below the tree line. So this one is right up on the mountain. So is he talking about this neighbour? Because there's a driveway there. And that also has a boundary with Jackie Dobbs' land. So Jackie Dobbs could have been camping here, below the tree line. So the tree line, Donald's standing here on he's outside on his property talking to voices behind the wall. So is it this neighbour? As I first speculated, it's got to be this neighbour.
But so she was up there, and she heard these screams. Her and her daughter heard these screams.
So it makes sense that she was somewhere between your house and her house at that point.
So it makes sense she was somewhere between your house and their house. All right, so dog trail's here. So the sound, if it's this neighbour, and maybe this neighbour was outside, it doesn't make sense. Right, let's do this slowly. So if it's this neighbour, Candice didn't hear anything because the TV was on. Don't know why Grandma didn't hear anything, but if Summer was here being manhandled into a vehicle and there's muffled screams. So muffled that up on this hill, nothing could be heard. So the sound had to go this way. And this neighbour had to be outside here somewhere. Again, if Summer had been bungled into a car and the vehicle had to either pass this way or go down here, how come the neighbour didn't hear a vehicle? I'm going to argue that if the neighbour heard something, it was not Summer screaming. It could have been them looking for Summer, shouting for Summer. Because when sound travels, especially if it's travelling through things like trees, it can get distorted. And Donald went on to say that there is a way to get away without cameras seeing you. So I think he's talking about going down here and going down here and then coming out on Beach Creek here. So if that was the case, again, why did the neighbour not hear the vehicle? If she heard muffled screaming, why did she not hear the vehicle? So in summary, what do we know? The neighbour has a boundary line with Jackie Dobbs, so it has to be either this neighbour or this neighbour up on the mountain. We know that she lives below the tree line, so this one is up on a mountain, so it's not this one. So it's got to be this one. Do not go harassing them. Do not go harassing them, right? And Summer, allegedly, was down on Ben Hill Road. So they didn't hear it because the TV was on and because the sound is having to travel through trees. This neighbour had to be outside, or else the same problem would arise. Had to be outside, had to be around here somewhere to even hear a scream. So I say again, it can't have been Summer, or else they would have seen, or at least heard, a vehicle. Because a muffled scream is not very loud. So it's much more likely that what they heard, being positioned around here, was them screaming for Summer. Because we don't know the time. If Candice had given a timeline, we could match the timeline up with where people were at a certain time, where the neighbour was at a certain time, and we could be clearer. So I'm going to call BS on this, that Summer wasn't here. If she was, and there was a muffled scream, the universe had to come together in just the right way for the neighbour to hear that and not hear anything else. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I'll leave a link to Crazy Crime Tricks video and Chris McDonough's video so that you can go and check them all out for yourself. Let me know what you think. I've been Michelle. I hope you're well. I'll see you in the next video. I'll be back tomorrow. The weather forecast is good, so let's do a walk through the woods or through the field with Cassie and Tilly. Miss Tillington and Miss Cassie Springer. They both have channels, by the way. If you go to my channel homepage, you'll see a link to Miss Tillington and Springer's with Cassie. So they don't post that much, but if you want to have a look at, some of the silly things they do, then Tilly's dreaming. Can you hear growling? She's dreaming that she's fighting someone. Bye, folks.